I actually get asked quite often, what kind of jobs can you get in prison? How much do they pay? Stuff like that. So I'll run you through the first prison I was in. I was in Bronzefield, as you probably all know and aware by now. When I started there, my morning job was working in the gym. Well, actually working it. So you had to go to the gym, let's say, for example, 9 till half 11. And you basically had to train or play volleyball or netball or football, whatever they were messing around doing. Obviously, you didn't have to train consistently for 2.5 hours. It wasn't like you was forced upon, but you wasn't allowed to sit there for the whole 2.5 hours doing nothing. I enjoyed it when we played badminton and stuff like that. We did have quite a laugh, and I did do quite a few classes and stuff. But when you're doing it every day and you're there for 2.5 hours, it's not enjoyable. It's just not something that I enjoyed. Don't get me wrong, I did like going to the gym and doing classes and all that stuff, but like I said, not 2.5 hours. I like short, hard, half-hour spurts, and that's me done. What did I do in the afternoons? I think I was a wing cleaner at first in the afternoons. Then I was become a recovery mentor. So that basically was working with the recovery team in Bronzefield. So I went around with girls that had addiction. What would happen is we would go and have like one-to-one meetings with them, and basically because the prisoners would trust prisoners, obviously they wouldn't confide in actual, even though the recovery team weren't prison officers, they still worked with the prison, so they didn't trust in talking to them. So we would sit and go and have one-to-ones, and we'd, chat about what's going on, and I would only report on the bits of paper what the prisoners would want me to. If they opened up to me and went quite in depth, said, for example, I'm using still whilst I'm in prison, I wouldn't write that on the bit of paper. I'd only write down, and I would get them to read it, and I'd get them to sign it and say they were happy for me to hand that piece of paper over. And I really enjoyed doing that job. It was really good because it was quite rewarding, being an ex-addict myself. I can relate to a lot of the girls in there. I can understand addiction basically. So they'd open up a lot. We would also do classes from like arts and crafts. So we'd play, and sometimes we played bingo and stuff with them. We'd get them out in an evening just to get them out of their cells, because some of them self-harmed, or all they would think about is using and stuff like that whilst they're locked behind their door. So we would just try and do activities and stuff for them. That was quite a rewarding job. Then I trained to be a listener, which anyone can do. It's run by the Samaritans, so I think most people have heard the Samaritans outside. It's run by them. People come in, they will give you training, they will see if you are actually suitable for the position as well. It's a voluntary job. You go on call all through the night, all through the day. Obviously there'll be different shift patterns, but excuse me, I've been called out at 12 at night, 1 in the morning, 6 in the morning. That was a hard job. You've got to be quite tough to do that, because you can sit and basically someone will tell you, they're going to kill themselves, or they'd say to you excuse me, they would say to you that they're gonna when they go back to their cell, they might kill themselves, or they're gonna ligature. They're feeling a type of way. We was never allowed to report that. The only time we was allowed to report anything that a prisoner said to us was if it was terrorism, which is crazy as it sounds. So basically, if a prisoner said to me, I've made a blade in my room, when I get locked back in my cell, I'm going to slit my throat, we wasn't allowed to tell the officer. That was a choice that that was something that we was told before, during training. It was a choice that we had to accept, taking on the role. But the thing is I would rather go and support someone knowing that they tried to talk to me. We tried to talk to them, and they reached out, than not. Like, obviously, if something had happened, I might not have felt the same way. You probably think, why didn't I do something? Why didn't I report it? But we just wasn't allowed. And the minute that you do that, it breaks the trust with that prisoner. So then, nobody then wants to go to the listeners, because there was different rumours about listeners in most of the jails, you know, that they would tell people, you know, I get called out by Joe and I'm at a conversation, and then I go and tell Claire, and then that Claire spreads it around the prison, and then, so, you know, we would be redeemed as not trustworthy. So that's why it was all had to be kept confidential, because basically we would be the last port of someone's call before they self-harmed or tried to take their life. It's quite sad actually when you sort of think about it, but you know, that's it is what it is. And why terrorism would be the only time we would be allowed to report it is madness. But yeah, so basically if an officer, you know, when an officer come and picked us out of the room and they said to us, oh, you know, is such and such all right, we would have to turn around and say, you know, you're not allowed to ask us that. We weren't even allowed to say, yeah, they're okay. We wasn't allowed to tell them any information. So yeah, that was another job that I did, but like I said, that was voluntary. And then I got sacked. I got kicked off the house block. I got sacked from my jobs. I'm not laughing now. I didn't find it funny at the time. I know you're probably all wondering why. Shall I tell you? No, it wasn't that deep. I got caught with tobacco in my room just after the smoking ban had come in place. So obviously that's a nicking. Once you get nicked, you lose your good jobs. And then I was on like a privileged house block, so I got kicked off there as well. So then I was a wing cleaner. I grafted my arse off. You know, the officers supported me. They could see I was really trying hard. And within like 8 weeks, like the listener team didn't even want to get rid of me, but it was the governor's decision to do that. They basically, after about, I think it was 6 or 8 weeks, I got a job being an induction worker, which was another peer mentor role, where I went to meet and greet the women at the gate. So for example, if you just land up in prison straight away, you'd come through me and another girl will be there. We'd meet and greet you. We'd try and reassure you. We'd talk you through everything. We'd take you back to your cell, no matter if it was 8 at night, 1 in the morning. I'd make sure that your TV was working. You had a TV aerial. Make sure you had a remote. I'd make sure you had a pillow, a quilt, all that sort of stuff. And I think they brought that in place was because, like, when I first went in, I didn't have a pillow for 10 days. Like, they didn't give a shit. They didn't care. They'll throw you in your room on your first night with no TV or a broken TV and stuff like that. So, like, say for example, someone leaves and someone's aerial's dodgy, they'll run in that empty cell, take the lead out, and then don't tell anybody. So then when someone goes in the middle of the night, they're left there all night with no TV, no nothing to distract their mind. So anyway, so I refused to leave if it wasn't officers. I think I used to get on their nerves, because I'd be like, well, we're not letting you lot come in until you get an aerial or something from somewhere, or a pillow or whatever, because it's not right. If at the end of the day, if we've got these privileges, if that's what we're allowed, then that's what we should be entitled to. No one should be treated any different. That's the way it is in my eyes. So I'd done that job. That I found really rewarding. You know, girls would be in such a state where they come into prison, they'd be terrified. And I'd go every day. You know, some girls were weaker than others and they were more scared, and I'd go and check on them more regular than other girls. And then you'd see them grow in a week or two, and they would just be like, and I told you, the first 2 weeks of prison is hell, absolute hell. But once you get through that, honestly, it just gets easier and easier and easier. You start learning the ropes and realising that it's not as scary as when you walk through the gates of the unknown. So they were the jobs that I did. That's what I did. But you can, oh God, there's so many jobs in Bronzefield. So there's a salon. You can do hairdressing. So you can do all your NVQs and stuff in hairdressing. They do nails. They have massage beds. So that's that. You've got a call centre. I think that's quite good money. You're doing about £5 a day just cold calling people. Obviously they don't know you're in prison. They had jailbirds, where it's just arts and crafts, you make stuff. They have Vita Nova, which is a cafe more for the staff. That's a privilege if you work in there. That's quite good money as well. Then obviously you get all the good food in there. So you got the gym, you got English and maths. If you fail English and maths tests when you go into prison, you have to do that as your job. What else was there? English, maths. That's all the hairdressing side. I probably missed some stuff. The gym, but it's not also doing the whole like where you've just got to go to the gym for the morning. You can actually become a gym orderly, like do your is it NVQ and gym as well. So you can do your gym training course as well. I'm just trying to think of what other. So there was the induction workers. There was being a listener. There was recovery mentoring, and yeah, I'm sure there is other things that I can't think of. Excuse me, I've got a really tickly throat. So that's Bronzefield. In Send, Send wasn't. Oh, and obviously you got the kitchens. You can work in the kitchens as well. In Send, it wasn't as great. The money, like I was earning. Oh, and servery. It's all come back to me now. You can do servery as well. So you serve dinner, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So my job in Bronzefield, I'd earn £25 a week, and then I'd get paid £1 a session for doing servery. So when they'd have no staff, that'd get added on extra. So it was quite good money. So I do all of that. Also laundry worker as well. There's a laundry worker. Sorry guys, it's just all coming back into my head. So you have one or two of you maybe that do the laundry all day every day. So yes, but then when I went to Send, I first of all I went into the kitchens, and then I went straight onto a program, a course I'd done. A lot of you have heard AA. So Send is the only female establishment to do the 5 steps. You've probably heard of the 12 steps. Well, in there they do up to the 5 steps. I spent, I think, 14 weeks doing that. Then I worked as an induction worker doing the same there as what I'd done in Bronzefield. Then I went outside and I worked in the hotel. But in Send, you've only got, so you've got the course, you've got kitchens, you've got English, maths, you've got induction worker, you've got the salon, and you've got the gym as well. So that money went, and there I was earning £10 a week. So it was quite a big drop from like £30 odd a week to £10 a week. So that was pretty crap. But that's what happens when you get into a government jail. The money, they don't pay as good. I think it's gone up a little bit now. I think they upped it to about £12.50 when I left. But if you don't have money coming in outside as well, it's not good. Also, if you get enhanced, there's a thing called standard or enhancement. You're allowed more money sent in, but that'll be another video. So yeah, I think I've covered basics of the jobs that I can think of off the top of my head. Rottles is where you work outside the prison. You've got to be, I think it's 2 years or less before your release date, depending on how long your sentence is. You can go and you start off working outside. So I started off working outside in the staff mess, which was a staff cafe where we just basically made food and sold it to the officers. And then after you've done like 12 weeks out there, you can then go into paid work. I went and worked in a hotel. The prison took, I think, 40% of your wages, and you got 60% of it, which at the end of the day, some of the girls would moan, and I get it if they have children and stuff, but for me, it was like, I'm getting paid to work outside. I'm getting paid to leave the prison, have my phone all day, and be out of the prison more than I am in. So for me, it was a win-win. I probably will finish this video and I'll probably think of loads of other jobs, but I might do a little short on it just with a few lists of it. So if I have missed anything, you can catch it up in the next sort of week or two. So thank you for tuning in, as always.